All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are just a couple of days away from the Golden Globe Awards, and it's the 75th Golden Globes this year, so that's a pretty significant number. And as you can kind of tell in my voice, I'm getting over a little head cold, so I'm not operating at 100% yet, but we're going to go ahead, and since the awards are this Sunday, it's probably the best chance right now to get them down and get my predictions down for what is going to win all of the film awards. We'll talk about film here. I don't really get into the TV stuff, but what is it? Handmaid's Tale, Glow. A couple of those will probably win multiple awards over on the TV side. Anyways, so let's go ahead. We can start with the top categories here with Best Film Drama and then Best Film Comedy Musical. Then we'll get into the acting races. We'll get into the lower stuff like the screenplay, original score, original song, and a couple of those too. So we'll go ahead and start with Best Film Drama. Now, this one I think is one of the tightest races here this year. Um, and we saw last year it was really a mano for it was Manchester by the Sea versus Moonlight, and Moonlight ended up winning. And it was really the last major prize it won before we got to WGA, really, in the guilds here and in the early precursors. Uh, and since Critics' Choice last year was so far ahead, Moonlight did win like supporting actor and best ensemble at Critics' Choice, and it lost the SAG award for ensemble to Hidden Figures. So I don't know though. I think our one of our best pictures I think is here in best film drama for one that I think has the chance to win the whole thing, and that's Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and that is my pick to win the Globe as well. Really, when you're looking at the Globes here to try to determine which film is going to win the top category, you need the broad support. You need nominations in multiple categories. Now, of course, when we're talking about the Oscars, you also need certain categories, certain nominations to get you there too. But at the Globes, we don't have like film editing. We don't have multiple slots for screenplay. Instead, we have just one screenplay category here. And normally, to win the Globe, you need a writing nomination, you need an acting nomination, director, and picture. And that's what Moonlight had last year at the Globes. That's what obviously La La Land had, and it also won the category here as well. And it swept every nomination, every category it was up for, it won. But I don't think we're going to see that again this year with any film. Anyways, so when we're looking at that, there are three films that count in that category here that have all those stipulations. And that's Three Billboards, The Shape of Water, and The Post. So I think those are the three that can win. I think we'll get to Best Director here in a minute too, but I think Director is going to go to Guillermo del Toro for Shape of Water, so that's how you award that one in a major category. The Post I have winning nothing. It's the Post is it's been hit and miss here. It landed on the PGA list today, but it missed out at the WGA for original screenplay. There's another one I'm thinking of that I can't remember right now, but it missed another big precursor here earlier. So yeah, that, and then it does have Three Billboards and The Post both have six nominations. Shape of Water has seven, so they're all in the upper echelon of the overall number of nominations and everything, which is usually a good sign that you're gonna walk away with one of these top prizes here. The other two films, Call Me by Your Name and Dunkirk, I don't think have the support to win. Especially Call Me by Your Name. That one I thought would have been got in the screenplay category, directing, but it missed both of those. Dunkirk does have director, which is big, but it doesn't have any screenplay or acting nominations. It only has score otherwise. Uh, and Dunkirk is another one I see going home empty-handed on Sunday because I think score they're going to go for an oddball pick, which they did a few years ago. We'll get to that later. And Call Me by Your Name, it's going to be close. It could win actor. It could maybe win supporting actor. Maybe. I mean, not a high chance. But yeah, I don't see that one winning anything though. So my reason for going with Three Billboards is right now it's my front runner for Best Picture. The Globes, they like to try and predict what's going to be your Best Picture winner. Now, at the moment here, it looks like Three Billboards, Lady Bird, and Get Out are the three films that got the SAG ensemble nomination, which is critical. We've gone into that many times. You need to at least get nominated there to win Best Picture. At least that's what 20 plus years of evidence is shown in the precursors here. So, so yeah, that means that Shape of Water and The Post, even though they're likely to get more nominations on Oscar morning than Three Billboards, it looks like Three Billboards is going to have the more critical nominations it needs. And it might also just have the general support of the actors, whereas Shape of Water we saw couldn't get in, The Post couldn't even get in, even though it has some of the biggest stars in Hollywood in it. So that's why of those three films, Three Billboards is the only one over here in the drama category, whereas Get Out and Lady Bird are going to fight it out for comedy picture. So I think that clears the way for Three Billboards here. Now, obviously, they could go with Shape of Water because it is nominated in so many categories. It overperformed, in my opinion. I had it getting in for 6 nominations at the Globes. It got in for screenplay as well. I didn't count on screenplay, so that was 7. And really, like I said, Guillermo del Toro, I think, is the front runner to win here. I also think he's the front runner at the Oscars. Even though a lot of people are picking Nolan, and obviously I get that, and I think it comes down to one of those two for director at the Oscars. But here at the Globes, Shape of Water, I think, walks away with at least director. It could also win a couple other categories. We'll get to those in a minute here. But The Post, on the other hand, it feels like, yeah, Spielberg, yeah, and for Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep, but I don't think either of those two are going to win. I don't think Spielberg's going to win. I don't see it winning score, and I don't see it winning screenplay. And its screenplay nomination was actually quite a surprise on the Globe's nomination morning. So I don't know. I just see it, kind of like Carol a couple of years ago was, had 5 nominations. It was the most nominated film in the film drama category. It went home empty-handed. You even had Spotlight, which at the time was still the front runner for Best Picture. It, even though it didn't have the most support of any of the, as many films as others did. Screwed that one up. Spotlight did not have the support that like The Revenant or Carol or even a couple of the other ones like The Big Short had that year. So that one went home empty-handed. That was also kind of it was a little surprising, but at the end of the day, it ended up not counting at the Oscars. So I think Three Billboards is the way they're going to go here. And The Post, I can see that one being like Carol. It has all these nominations, but you just can't find a category to give it to. So I think that's the way they're going to go with that. Okay, for film on the comedy or musical side, like I said, this comes down to Lady Bird versus Get Out. But I do think also I, Tonya could be a big surprise here. I've just been hearing through a couple of sources that I, Tonya, it got 3 nominations here at the Globes, and I think the Globe voters liked it a lot. So I think they will give it something. And I have a kind of a shocker here for one of the categories, but I think I, Tonya does not win here. I think this is Lady Bird versus Get Out. And between the two, when you look at it, Lady Bird, even though it's not up for director, neither is Get Out. It is up for screenplay, which Get Out surprisingly did not get nominated for screenplay. So I think Lady Bird does win the category here. And like I said, it's between that, Get Out, and Three Billboards at the Oscars, I think, if you're following the SAG rule. Otherwise, Shape of Water, The Post, Dunkirk, all these other ones, you could also say has a possibility to win. But I'm just sticking with the SAG rule for now because it burned me to hell last year with the La La Land stuff. Anyway, so yeah, I think Lady Bird wins this category. All right, we already talked about director a little bit. I think it is Guillermo del Toro. I think because Shape of Water has the most nominations, and also I don't have Shape of Water winning any other category. And with the most nominations there, I can't remember the last time we saw a Globe film nominated for 7 categories and go home empty-handed. I don't think that's going to happen with Shape of Water. And, well, I think Dunkirk would obviously be the next biggest threat there. But I just don't, yeah, it didn't have the support. It has director, picture, and score, but nothing else. So I think the Globe voters, they admire it, but I don't think they love it enough to give it director. Again, unless they're trying to predict the Oscars and they think Nolan has it. But also another thing we have to remember with Nolan is, unlike Guillermo, who goes around and does all the press for the movie and stuff, Nolan has really just kind of backed off, and he's just looking at this from the outside perspective, and he's not really going to all the luncheons and doing all the big press for the movie. He's not really campaigning as hard as, say, Guillermo del Toro or even Spielberg or Ridley Scott or Martin McDonagh, who are also nominated in the category. Also, you got Greta Gerwig, who's not nominated here, Jordan Peele. all of them are playing ball and really doing all the big campaigning stuff for their movies and for their contention for director. Nolan is not, but at the same time, I think he's pretty safe for nomination. I don't think that's gonna hurt him when it comes to getting nominated at, say, the Oscars and DGA and all the other big categories like BAFTA and all the other shows that haven't announced their nominations yet. But I do think that does hurt him when it comes to actually winning the big awards there. Okay, let's move on to the acting categories now. We'll start with drama actor. And I think this is really a sharp race between Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour and Timothée Chalamet for Call Me by Your Name. It really comes down to these two. They're both, or actually, one of them is nominated here for film, and that's Call Me by Your Name. And we've seen many TV categories, and it's also true for some of the film categories too. But it's like if you win an acting prize, it's usually because your film is nominated for best film in either the drama or the comedy race. Like we see that happened with Leo DiCaprio and Brie Larson that year. Last year they went with Manchester by the Sea for Casey Affleck, and Fences, which was the thing I was putting down to win. That one I thought was going to win, but didn't happen. And Fences was not nominated for Best Film Drama, so maybe that had something to do with it. And then you had really the exception to last year was Elle winning Best Actress Drama for I can't even remember her name right now, but who was nominated last year? Isabelle Huppert. There we go. But her film, it won the foreign language film category though, so that made sense. And then both Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone swept for La La Land in the comedy race last year. So we've seen that help, but I'm going against that rule here because I think Gary Oldman is such a strong front runner here, and because he is such a favorite here, just in the industry, and everybody's talking about it. And plus, it's one of those movies, Darkest Hour, that it didn't get any other nominations here, and I think that's something the Globes would usually go for a movie like Darkest Hour, and Darkest Hour I think is actually having a really rough spot here. It didn't get into PGA, didn't get into I don't think it was eligible for WGA, and it's really like I said, missed out on the Globes race here for drama, missed out on a few other categories. I think if it rebounds really well at BAFTA, it could still get one of those up to 10 slots in Best Picture, which helps it. And there's a couple other things that are on the table there for Darkest Hour. But in the meantime, I think just because he is such a big front runner, and since it's only been here in the last couple of weeks that I think this whole Timothée Chalamet has really started up, I think the Globes voters had already decided we're going to give this to Gary Oldman before that started. At the same time, though, that did kind of come up, though, at the very end, like right at the end of the voting period for the Globes voters. So there might just be enough votes in there to where Timothée can still win. So I'm not going to be shocked if Timothée ends up winning that night and he gets on the stage there and gives a great speech. And I'll tell you what, this guy, he's young. He doesn't really fit the mold for the Best Actor winners like Daniel Day-Lewis or some of the other ones like Leo. That they have that they're kind of the older kind of Lifetime Achievement Award kind of winners here. But and like I think I've said it before, like Timothy Hutton, I think is the last one you can count as like a younger actor, and that was even in the supporting race. But a younger actor who really comes up and just gives such a strong impression that they give him the Oscar. That couldn't even happen with Lucas Hedges last year, despite him being the best performance in that category, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, so this does come down to those two, but I think they do go with Oldman on this one. But I would not fall out of my seat in shock if they give it to Timothée. Okay, we'll move on now to lead actress drama. Now this is one I can see it going one of three ways here. They either give it to Frances McDormand for Three Billboards, they give it to Sally Hawkins for Shape of Water, or they give it to Meryl Streep for The Post. Now, of the three, I think The Post and Meryl Streep winning is the least likely. She did just get their Lifetime Achievement Award, the Cecil B. DeMille Award, last year, and it's not common for them to go and double down on that. Like last year, we were all betting on, or not all of us, but a good chunk of us were betting on Denzel Washington to win for Fences. But he had just won the Cecil B. DeMille Award the year before that, so coincidentally handed to him by his Philadelphia co-star Tom Hanks, who's nominated this year of all, just to point that one out. But anyways, but Meryl Streep also did not win last year. She was nominated for Florence Foster Jenkins, but she wasn't going to win for that. So I think because she was just on the stage last year and she's already won, I think it's 3 or 4 Globes. Maybe it's more than that because she won for like uh, Iron Lady. She won for Doubt. She won, a few before that. So she's got 4 or 5 actually. When I think about it, maybe I might double check that later. But she's already won her fair share, plus the Cecil B. DeMille special prize there. So I think they're. I mean, obviously, if she gives another performance here in 5 or 6 years, that's worthy. I think they'll be ready to give her another one. But in the meantime, here I think they've awarded her enough recently that I think they're good with that. But at the same time, though, you could make the argument that hey, if they really, which the Globes like to do sometimes, which is really split up the support for all the different studios and all the different films, so they try to award each big studio in a different way. I don't know if 20th Century Fox, who put out the Post, I don't know if they're gonna get much love here. Obviously, I think Fox Searchlight will get some love because that's 3 Billboards and Battle of the Sexes, which I don't think will win anything, but it's like they have their fair share of stuff. A24, I think, will be a huge winner with Lady Bird, and they've got The Disaster Artist. They've got Florida Project in there, and there's a couple other big studios, but I'm not coming right now. And then Shape of Water is also another Fox Searchlight one. So maybe not big 20th Century Fox, the big studio will win anything, but Fox Searchlight will definitely get its fair share. So that would be the only other argument I can see is if they really, really, really want to split it up, and if they really need to give the Post something, I think Meryl becomes the only viable option if you're not giving it Best Film Drama, which at this rate, the Post does not look like it's in its strongest stride to win Best Picture. So I think going back to that rule of them trying to predict the Oscar winner, I think that's why they would veer away from the Post, go with something else. So then it comes down to Sally Hawkins and Frances McDormand. Now, Sally Hawkins did win the Globe here 5 or 6 years. No, it was longer ago than that. Sorry, it was that 2008? Yeah, it was almost 10 years ago now, right? For Happy Go Lucky, and surprisingly, she was not nominated that year. So they have given her a Globe before. At the same time, this is The Shape of Water, and it's the big performance. It's the central performance in Shape of Water, which I did actually see a couple days ago. It's a beautiful movie. Absolutely, you should go see it if you haven't yet. And her performance in particular, I thought was, I mean, I love, as I've said before, 3 Billboards is still my favorite film of the year, and Frances McDormand is so good in that. Sally Hawkins is, I mean, gives her a run for her money, though. It is, those two are terrific, absolutely phenomenal performances. So, yeah. Obviously, if we're just judging the type of performance and everything, I could see a scenario where, yeah, Sally comes out on top. But the big thing that Frances has in her corner, obviously, other than being in the film that's my pick to win drama picture here, which they usually do like to line that up. Like Revenant won for lead actor in film. Trying to think what else here recently. Obviously last year La La Land went that way with both Ryan and Emma winning, and then the film winning. Plus, what was it, 4 other categories? But yeah, and then we saw. Actually, no. 2014 did a couple different things. Just going through my recent memory here. 2013 did a couple of different things. Who won comedy that year? I think it was American Hustle. Well, American Hustle did win Amy Adams, and then it won film. So yeah, those are a couple of examples there. So they do like to line those up sometimes. So I think that helps Frances. Plus, get this, and I've said it many times, but Frances McDormand has never won a Golden Globe. She did not win the year of Fargo, even though she won the Oscar. She did not win the year of Olive Kitteridge on the TV side, even though that was one of the more lauded performances, and I think she won the Emmy for that too. I think she did, didn't she? Anyways, so yeah, she, I think, does win this because of the overdue factor, the fact that it is such a defiant performance, a multiple layered performance, and really, I think it was a really good pick to put this in the drama category because I know it was originally trying to get into the comedy category. In the comedy category, I think it would have had a much harder chance since Lady Bird is there and Get Out is there too, and you got Saoirse Ronan also in that lead actress category for the comedy race. So it would have been some pretty stiff competition. So I think with in the drama race, I think that makes her chances a lot better. Okay, let's move on now to the top prizes for the comedy races. Okay, so lead actor, musical or comedy. I think this could be one of the easier picks. I think it's James Franco for The Disaster Artist. We see Disaster Artist is also nominated for Best Film, but then again, you get the same argument though for Get Out and The Greatest Showman for Hugh Jackman. Now the thing with Hugh Jackman, they did just give him the Globe for Les Mis a few years ago. I think that's pretty fresh in their memories. Daniel Kaluuya for Get Out. He's not really a big known personality yet. This is kind of his breakout role. So, and we did just get the announcement here. I think it was yesterday that the British awards, the BAFTAs, have their Rising Star Award, and he's up for one of those nominations, and he might well win the category too. But I think they'd probably go to Timothée Chalamet for that one. So Daniel Kaluuya is also up here, but I don't think he'll win. Just because the Globe sometimes they like to go for their movie stars, and between these three, obviously Hugh Jackman's a big movie star, but I think they go with James Franco here because The Disaster Artist it's a role that has a lot of drama to it, even though it is a comedic film. But it's like he plays Tommy Wiseau, and there's a couple of, especially the end of Disaster Artist, you get kind of a big moment with Tommy, and it's one of the better moments in the movie too. So that's good. And then plus Hugh Jackman in The Greatest Showman. I did see The Greatest Showman again a couple days ago. It's not a good movie, and it's not a great performance either. No, the whole movie's pretty not good. So yeah, I think it's lucky it got in. So yeah, I think we'll just count it there. Okay, so for lead actress, comedy, musical, I think this is Saoirse Ronan's to lose. I don't really see a scenario here where they go with anybody else. The only other exception would be Margot Robbie here for I, Tonya. But and even though I love the movie, I like I, Tonya better than Lady Bird personally for me. But I think the performance by Saoirse is great. She's been nominated. This is her third nomination of the Globes, and I think that's one. It's like 3 times the charm. Plus, it's Lady Bird again. If they want to line up their top prize of film comedy with the lead actress, I think that's the chance to do it with Saoirse, because I don't think Disaster Artist is going to win film comedy. So yeah, I think that's the way they're going to go with that. The thing with Margot though, it's a good performance, really great. Again, has some dramatic moments, but there's more laughs to be had in Lady Bird around Saoirse's character than there is laughs to be had around Margot's character in I, Tonya. Hers is kind of more the comedic, or hers more the dramatic role, whereas a lot of the comedy in I, Tonya comes from Allison Janney. And I think, yeah, we'll get to Allison Janney here in a minute here for supporting actress, but I do think Saoirse, she's got the funnier laughs between anyone else in the cast really in Lady Bird. Except for maybe her best friend, who I don't know the name of the character even, but she's pretty funny. But I think she has the more comedic performance. But they do like drama in their comedies, and I think that's the case for James Franco. And I do think, obviously, there's some dramatic moments with Saoirse as well in the film. So I think that's a winning combo there. So I think everything's lining up for her to win that one. Okay, now for the supporting races. Supporting actor. Oh, this category. At first, I thought it was just a quick, easy, done check mark for Willem Dafoe for the Florida Project. But since then, I have given this a lot of thought, and there is a lot of possibilities here. A lot of possibilities. I think everybody. Well, Richard Jenkins. I'm glad he's nominated because I've seen all 5 of these movies now. And Richard Jenkins is phenomenal in Shape of Water. Armie Hammer is really great and very endearing as a love interest in Call Me By Your Name. Sam Rockwell has probably the biggest arc of any character this year in 3 Billboards. He does a terrific job. I've seen All the Money in the World as well. It's an okay thriller, but the best part of the movie is Christopher Plummer. I mean, and I'm somebody who I love Kevin Spacey as an actor. And obviously, after everything that happened with the scandal, and it really came out that he's a monster in real life, definitely my love for him has waned a lot. Still as a performer, I think I love him in that way. But as a personality, no. I mean, I wouldn't shake hands with the guy. I don't know if I would even talk to him in personal life. But so I was before they announced everything with Christopher Plummer, I was really looking forward to see what he was doing in All the Money in the World. I thought he was the best part of the trailer. Definitely looked like he was going to give the best performance of anybody in the movie, and yeah. So when they announced it, I was like, oh, that's too bad. And I would still love to see, if they just put, just kind of cut all of his scenes together and put it as a Blu-ray special feature or something. I would definitely buy the Blu-ray just for that. But doesn't look like we're ever going to see it. That's too bad. But they got Christopher Plummer, and I mean, in a week and a half, what this guy did, and I mean, not to give it away, but in the movie, he is a central part of the movie. I mean, obviously, he's not the lead actor in any by any means. He's definitely a supporting role, but he is so. I mean, straight or I can't even think of the word now. But he's a through line through the whole movie. He's not just at the beginning and at the end. He's throughout the movie, and he does spectacular work. And I mean, I can't even describe how I felt about the performance. It's like he's like cold and dark, and doesn't give a shit, and he's really stingy, and he wants to save all his money, but at the same time, there's a warmth there, and a that comes with the age, I think, and just and a confidence there, and it's like you're almost rooting for the guy, even though he's obviously kind of the villain of the movie, but. God, it's almost like Idris Elba in Beast of No Nation, where it's like he's such a charming guy, even though he's the most despicable, terrible person in real life, or like as a character, it's like what he does is awful. But at the same time, there is such a charisma to the performance and such a an attitude about him that you're like you almost root for him and you want him on screen as much as possible. So yeah, so I got the same vibes off of Idris Elba in that movie as I did with Christopher Plummer here. So I think just off of that, plus all the politics that play into it, of yes, he came to the rescue of the movie and he did all his work, even ahead of Ridley Scott's 2 week plan. He got it done in a week and a half, and really helped the movie move along so well. And the fact that even and Ridley Scott has also talked about this too in a lot of his interviews. But the fact that Christopher Plummer did most of his scenes in the movie in 1 or 2 takes, and they got it. I mean, it's in the can, done, and they got it done so quick. I mean, I see that as a real possibility that they could award him in this category. And he did win a few years ago for beginners, but that one it was kind of in a year where he was winning everything and he was going to win the Oscar. It was already predetermined. But in this one, there is I think there's a groundswell of support for him here. But at the same time, I think the safe money right now is still on Willem Dafoe, and it is a case to where the Florida Project, it's the only nomination for the film. It's really the only chance to support the movie, and even though it's not on the PGA list, it didn't get into WGA. Again, I don't know if it qualified. Maybe it wasn't eligible, but it's a case where there's a lot of people rooting for this movie, and I've seen it too. I really liked it, even though the last 5 minutes are kind of take it or leave it. The rest of the movie around it is spectacular, and Willem Dafoe is probably the highlight of everything. Him and then the actress who plays the mom, even though she's not exactly a role model, it's a great performance. I don't know I think that's her first movie, but she did a really great job. But Willem Dafoe is really great in it too. So it's also kind of one of those role model kind of characters, whereas Christopher Plummer's a guy. I mean, it would be an honor to meet him in real life just because of the legacy of who he is. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I wouldn't hang around him and have 5 beers with him or anything. So, but Willem Dafoe is a guy you would want to have 5 beers with, and a guy you root for him in the movie, and he gets for me 2 of the best scenes in the movie because there's a couple scenes where he is really fathering the children. He's really being the father figure to the kids, and he really saves them from what could be a really bad situation twice in the movie. And I think those are the best scenes in the movie, and I think he really showcases those scenes. So, yeah, again, I think the safe money is still on Willem Dafoe, even though there is that rooting factor for Christopher Plummer. And plus, Sam Rockwell, I think, if they really, really love Three Billboards and they want to give it the sweep factor, which I don't think happens 2 years in a row, but hey, the Globes historically have given like Midnight and Cowboy won a bunch. No, sorry, not Midnight Cowboy. uh, the other one that was nominated that year, and of the Thousand Days. Yeah, that one. I think they gave that one 5 or 6 Globes. They gave La La Land 7. They gave. There's a few other examples there, but they're not coming to mind right now. So there have been times where they really, really just go for a movie and give it a ton of stuff. But this is one I think there's a little controversy around the movie too, and especially around his character. So I think that kind of hurts him a little bit. And then Armie Hammer too. He missed at SAG. His nomination at the Oscars at first was a foregone conclusion, but nowadays it's on the verge where maybe Stuhlbarg gets swapped in for him. I don't think so personally, but some people are making that scenario, and it's I mean, I would be a fool to say it's not a possibility, but I wouldn't bet on it at this rate. But yeah, and then also he's got one thing here we have to look at here. Christopher Plummer turns 88, or is it 88 or 89 this year? He's getting up there. Willem Dafoe is in his 60s. Richard Jenkins is in his 70s. Sam Rockwell is about to turn 50, or is already 50. He's close to it. Armie Hammer is only like in his early to mid 30s. So the age difference, it's kind of like the apple in the bucket of oranges, or the apple in the, or sorry, the orange in the bucket of apples, or whatever thing you want to give there. Sometimes that helps with the Globes. I think that was something maybe that helped out Aaron Taylor Johnson last year. Really surprised in this category. So I think, yeah, we'd be a fool to say that it's just Willem Dafoe, no question. I think there's a lot of competition here. So, and plus, it's another thing where if they go with Gary Oldman for lead actor, and they still want to give Call Me by Your Name something, this could be a chance to give it something. As if they turn to Armie Hammer here. At the same time, yeah, going back to all my points there, I think Willem Dafoe does win the category. Part of it is, kind of lining up with my theory of Gary Oldman, where it was kind of predetermined, and they probably already, when they were nominating, they already said, okay, yeah, we'll probably give it to him already. So I think that's something that helps me pick Willem Dafoe in this category, and he's the safe money. But the safe money was on Mahershala last year to win this. He didn't win. He ended up with the Oscar, but he didn't win this category. So yeah, we'll see. Okay, now for supporting actress, I am going against the grain here. I think this is Allison Janney's. I think they give it to I, Tonya here. Now again, just from a couple word of mouth things I'm hearing, that they really like Lady Bird. Obviously, they gave it a lot of stuff, but it didn't get in for director. Didn't get in for well, actually, that was probably the only thing it could have gotten into that it didn't. But because I don't think there's really a big supporting actor that they wanted to go after. So at the same time, though, I've heard they really like I, Tonya too, and plus I, Tonya has been doing very well as of late. Now, obviously, the WGAs and PGAs, what they do does not 100% influence what happens at the Oscars. But Ace Eddie also gave I, Tonya one of their nominations for film editing in a comedy. It got a WGA nomination, which was great. I think this is a terrific script. It's too bad it's in a really crowded category this year. Otherwise, I think it would be a shoo-in to get nominated. Plus, it got a PGA nomination today. So there is support for this movie. A lot, maybe more support than we were thinking. More than Darkest Hour, more than Florida Project at this rate, which have also missed out on those. The Post missed out at WGA, whereas I, Tonya got in. So I think there's a bit of a groundswell for this movie to get going and maybe win a big category. This is it. Allison Janney might be the big category. And plus, having seen the movie now, I've seen it twice. I, Tonya was so good. I watched it, I think, twice in the same day. It was that good. But Allison Janney is absolutely the best part of the movie. And she has a lot of the comedic moments. I mean, almost all the comedic moments, actually, in the movie that are like make you laugh out loud, belly laugh moments. She's got them as this kind of over-the-top mother who really is kind of deranged in some scenes and is absolutely merciless in other scenes, but it's a performance you cannot take your eyes off of. It's definitely that. And then at the same time, though, I think Laurie Metcalf, it could be another scenario where I was talking about the lead actor there and the supporting actor. It could be a thing to where they say, hey, this was already determined even before our nominations got out there that it was going to be Laurie Metcalf who wins. So that could be a scenario where they say, yeah, let's give it to Laurie Metcalf. At the same time, though, I do think that Lady Bird, it will win Best Film and Best Lead Actress in the comedy categories. So I think they've awarded that one enough. Plus, it would be another win for A24. which I already have winning supporting actor, lead actress, lead actor, film comedy. So yeah, they're gonna already gonna give it 3, maybe 4 Globes, depending on how many it gets there. But I, Tonya is Neon, who's a really new distributor here, and sometimes they want to put the new distributors on the map. So I think that's a way to do it. Plus, Allison Janney has been nominated 6 times at the Globes and has never won. All 6 of those, by the way, I believe were for TV category. So this is her first film nomination, or well, sorry, 5. Sorry, this is her 6th nomination, but she's lost 5 times, and all 5 of those were for TV work. And all 5 of those, if you look at them, were all more recent than Laurie Metcalf, who was nominated here twice before for Roseanne, but that was back in the 90s. Allison Janney's, all of her nominations have been, I think, since 2002 or 2003, somewhere around there. So her nominations are more recent. I, Tonya, we've heard, obviously if Lady Bird's already going to win these other categories, I think they might want to give I, Tonya something, and so this would be the chance to do it. And I think arguably though too doesn't I think Allison Janney gets more screen time than Laurie Metcalf does too. Uh, I don't know. I'll need to watch Lady Bird again, but yeah, and also Laurie Metcalf is kind of more of it's more of a quieter performance, especially when you compare it to Allison Janney, who almost all of her scenes are yelling or big confrontational scenes or some rough parenting scenes. So yeah. But at the same time, Laurie Metcalf, it's more of the quieter performance. It's more of the motherly performance, and it's more of a mother that, even though she's not 100% supportive of her daughter the whole time. I, Tonya, Allison Janney's performance is, it's one. I mean, obviously, it got the daughter to where she was, even if it was a pretty non-conventional way of raising a kid. So, yeah, I think it comes down to those two. I have heard a couple of rumors a couple speculations. Mary J. Blige maybe gets a little love here too for Mudbound, but at the same time, I'm thinking that on the TV side, Netflix is going to get its fair share of awards, especially if Glow comes through with comedy series. What's her name? Alison Brie could win for lead actress comedy. So there's a couple other awards that I think the Netflix factor can award there. So I don't know if they're going to give it to a film here too. And plus, we saw that was Idris Elba a couple years ago. He couldn't win his category there, even though it was who won that year? I forget who it was. Sylvester, who was everybody thought would suddenly become the front runner, but still, even then, they couldn't give it to a Netflix film. I wouldn't. I mean, I don't know if I would necessarily say Mary J. Blige winning is a big upset, but I would think it's an upset. But not a gigantic, oh my god, where did this come from? Big upset. Not like Aaron Taylor Johnson last year, or La La Land winning screenplay last year. That was pretty shocking. So yeah. Okay, speaking of screenplay, let's get to this year's nominees. So I think this actually could become a pretty competitive category here. The only one I'm really discounting here, well, two I'm discounting here are Shape of Water and Molly's Game. Molly's Game, they just gave it to Aaron Sorkin a couple years ago for Steve Jobs, and that was a pretty large upset that year. Molly's Game is also nominated for lead actress, and it actually got into PGA today. It got into WGA, which it's in the adapted, so that was no surprise there. So, yeah. So there is a bit of a groundswell now coming up for Molly's Game, too. I don't know if I don't think it's enough right now to get it one of the best picture slots, but PGA was a big step forward for sure. And also The Big Sick really benefited from that today too. But that, of course, got skunked here at the Globes. Anyway, so yeah, since they just gave it to Aaron Sorkin, I don't think they give it to Molly's Game. Shape of Water, I mean, it's a nicely written film, but it's certainly not a screenplay that just comes off the page and the dialogue is so quotable that you have to give it to The Shape of Water. I don't think so. Plus, Guillermo del Toro, I think, is already going to win for director, so I don't necessarily see him winning 2 Globes in the same night. Still, that being said, they gave Damien Chazelle 2 for La La Land last year, so I don't know. Could be, but so yeah, I think it does come down to the other 3, which are The Post, 3 Billboards, and Lady Bird. Now, between these 3, I think The Post is the least likely. Again, if it's a thing where if it's nominated so many times they have to give The Post something, it could settle for screenplay. I don't necessarily think so, but I'll throw it out there as a possibility. Three Billboards I have in second place here to Lady Bird. Three Billboards, I think Martin McDonagh, he's not as big a personality as the writer of Lady Bird and who's also the director, Greta Gerwig. And I think if Three Billboards, it's already going to win lead actress. It's already going to win for film drama. But Lady Bird, on the other hand, I think this is a way, because Greta was not nominated for director, and the Globes have gotten all sorts of shit for that. I think if they really want to make it up and say, "Oh, okay, we're sorry we missed that one," here's a screenplay for Greta Gerwig, and plus she's already she wrote co-wrote the script with Noah Baumbach for Mistress America. Yeah, I was trying to think if that was the right one, and she wrote a couple other things too. So she's been around the game longer in the writing room than she has been in the directing room. So I think that's why they'll give it to Lady Bird. Plus, I mean, yeah, that's the thing though. If it wins this, it wins supporting actress, it wins lead actress, it wins film comedy, then it sweeps all four of its nominations, and that's really rare for the Globe. So that's why I think Laurie Metcalf is the one they go against here. But I think since the groundswell is so strong for Lady Bird, and with Greta Gerwig missing that big nomination there for director, I think that's why I give her the edge in this case. But Three Billboards, I think, does have the more memorable dialogue, and it's kind of the bigger dialogue, and there's some every character gets a really big speech in it. Then again, there's some big. Everybody has their moment though in Lady Bird too, to be fair. But yeah, I think Three Billboards is the more memorable script. But I think plus like we said, Fox Searchlight, it's already going to get a lot of love. Then again, this is A24, so God, I don't know. I don't know what to do with this category. I just say Lady Bird just because of the Greta Gerwig thing, but yeah, this could go really a lot of different ways. So yeah, I'll just leave it at Lady Bird because of the stuff with Greta. But okay, yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay, for score, original score, I'm going with an oddball pick here too. I'm going with Phantom Thread, Jonny Greenwood. This category reminds me so much of 2013, yeah. And that year we had All Is Lost up here against, say, it was Gravity and Book Thief and a couple of these other ones that looked like much more bigger chances at the Oscars. And Phantom Thread, Jonny Greenwood has never been nominated for an Oscar, and this is his first nomination at the Globes. And I see a scenario here to where Phantom Thread, its focus features, versus if they give it to Dunkirk, that's Warner Brothers, who I don't see actually winning too many awards here. Not really. Or they give it to Shape of Water, which is Fox Searchlight. They're already going to give Fox Searchlight a lot. I don't think the other two, the poster Three Billboards, is much of a threat here. So yeah, I think it does come down to those three. Hans Zimmer, he's been awarded a lot of Globes over the years, so I think they're good on him. Shape of Water, that's Alexander Desplat. I think he's won. Has he won yet? I know he didn't win for the Grand Budapest, even though he won the Oscar for that. Gosh, I could have sworn that I saw he did win once. But something is just telling me Phantom Thread. Something's just telling me to go out on a limb for this one. So, yeah, plus, it did get in for lead actor, so it's got a little bit of support there. But yeah, this reminds me of All Is Lost, and that one crumpled and beat Gravity, which was the Oscar frontrunner. And it was really just a case of they liked the movie enough that they wanted to give it something. And All Is Lost, what was the only other nomination it had? Robert Redford, lead actor. Same thing this time. So on that limb, I think I'm going to go with Phantom Thread, even though I did see Shape of Water. Terrific score by Desplat. I think he will win the Oscar for that, but I'm going out on a limb for Phantom Thread on that one. Okay, for original song, I think that they're just going to line up and say it's Coco. The This Is Me song from Greatest Showman, it's kind of the more Broadway number, but again, I don't know if they want to award the film. And then there's also Mudbound, that original song, Mighty River, which is Mary J. Blige is helped on that one. So if they don't give her supporting actress, they might want to award her with Mighty River and give her something. But I don't know. I don't think so. I think the safe money is just to go with Coco. So I think I'll stick with that one. And also that goes for animated feature. I think that also lines up with Coco. Yeah, I don't think any of the other films are a big threat. Loving Vincent obviously has its, it's kind of snobbish, more support there, but I don't know if it's enough for the whole Globe's body to go for it. Okay, the last one would be a foreign film, and I'm kind of going against the odds here too for Fantastic Woman. Now, I have heard, again, kind of through the grapevine, that first they killed my father in the square, which are the two that are kind of battling it out here. They actually don't have as big a support, I've heard, as Fantastic Woman or the other two in the Fate or Loveless. But between those three, I think Fantastic Woman wins here. Another thing too is on their ballots they list them alphabetically. A Fantastic Woman, I think, is the first one that comes up. Right? I think it's alphabetically the first one of the five. And sometimes, like we've seen at the Emmys, I mean, not that their voting bodies are 100% the same, but sometimes at the Emmys they just tick off the top one if they haven't seen them or if they're not familiar with the category. Which the Globes voters, since it is the Hollywood foreign press, they probably do spend a lot more time on this category than say the Oscars do. But I think Fantastic Woman. I'm just gonna go out on that one as again kind of a limb, but we'll see what happens here. All right, well I got through that. Anyway, so I do want to do an update here on the Oscars before the Globes come out. I want to give some updated predictions there. Plus, we now have PGA and WGA out, and ACETI nominations, the Art Directors Guild, Makeup Guild, some of those other guilds have already come out. Uh, those won't always impact my predictions necessarily, especially the makeup one. Makeup, their category is so weird. Anyways, so yeah, so I don't know if the guild does anything for me there. Maybe when it comes to the final round of voting and we get to the actual winner, sometimes the winner of the guilds will impact my vote there a little bit. But in the meantime, here I think those are my final Globes predictions. There will be some categories that are really down to the wire, and it's like the winner is going to be like, "Oh shoot, I missed it," or the winner's going to be, "Yes, yes, I did it," and it's like a big thing. There's going to be all sorts of different possibilities for a lot of these categories. So it's going to be a fun show to watch. They're always fun because they always do something kooky, something weird. Who is it? Seth Meyers is the host. I'm looking forward to what he's going to do. Because Fallon, man, he bombed last year, I thought, especially with the teleprompter thing. That was such a terrible. I don't know if that was even a joke or if it was real. He handled it very poorly. He ended up being a real disappointment last year as a host there. I think Seth Meyers will do better. Plus, I mean, look at everything that's happened this past year in Hollywood or even in politics. There is going to be so much for him. And you remember he was on Weekend Update on SNL, so he's got a lot of experience when it comes to talking about politics and making jokes out of them and stuff. Even though, yeah, he's I can't remember if he was a writer those years that he was on SNL or not for those, but still, I think he'll do very well as a host. He's given, it's almost like he's got hook, line, and sinker for the number of jokes he can reel in and get the audience laughing and make fun of Hollywood this year. So, and those are always the fun years, aren't they? Anyways, so we're looking forward to that one. And I'm not decided yet because I could do live reactions for this one. Normally, I don't do them for the Globes, but we'll see. Normally, the camera that I use, for whatever reason, the videos don't want to come up on this particular computer, so I have to use a different computer. But now that other computer has come into my possession, so I might just take advantage of that. So yeah, I'm undecided there. Plus, it's on Sunday, and that happens to also be the day that I'm going back to the old location, college, and the old place there. So depends. I've got particular long trips, so I don't know what. I'll get there in time to watch the awards, but I don't know if I have time because I have to set up the camera, I have to get everything going for that. So yeah. So I'm undecided at this point if I'm going to be able to do live reactions or not for the Globe Awards. There is a lot of TV categories and stuff, so it'd have to be a lot of editing and a lot of different stuff. So we'll see. But in the meantime, here those are my predictions for the Globes, and hopefully a lot of them are right. We'll see.